Studio 1A in Tampa, Florida, comes a talk show that really feels your pain and tells you like it is. We love America and all that freedom-loving Americans want to protect. Live from coast to coast and on your radio, it's For the People with Keith Allen.
We'll help you survive this thing called life. We're for the people. Whatever your source of stress or strife, for the people is there.
Well, hello, Mr. and Mrs. America. I am Keith Allen on this very important Tuesday, May the 16th, 2017. Jennifer, we got with McMaster right now. The press is all over him right now, trying to find out what in the world does he know, what does he know about all this information. The Washington Post blew out a story that basically purports that Trump had shared classified information at the White House, and of course the press laying into McMaster immediately, open for questions, and here's how that went down.
General McMaster.
Thanks a lot, General McMaster. You came out to the stakeout area yesterday, and in coming out to the stakeout area, you said that the Washington Post story, which came out late yesterday afternoon, was false. Do you stick by that assertion? Do you think that every element of that story is false? And do you have anything to correct in terms of what you said at the podium yesterday afternoon?
No, I stand by my statement that I made yesterday. And what I'm saying is really the premise of that article is false, that in any way the president had a conversation that was inappropriate or that resulted in any kind of lapse in national security. And so I think the real issue, and I think what I'd like to see really debated more, is that our national security has been put at risk by those violating confidentiality and those releasing information to the press that could be used connected with other information available to make American citizens and others more vulnerable.
Okay, and that did not happen. Press still asking H.R. McMaster's questions. Here's a little about it, the sounds, what's taking place right now at the White House as we speak.
Combined what was leaked with other information and then insinuated about sources and methods. So I wanted to make clear to everybody that the president in no way compromised any sources or methods in the course of this conversation.
General, you do say, though, that national security has been put at risk by the leak of this. Do you have any idea how this got out, and what steps are you taking by virtue of discovering this, as you did, to try to limit the potential for any more leaks of national security information?
I think national security is put at risk by this leak and by leaks like this. And there are a number of instances where this has occurred. And I think it's important to investigate these sort of things and to make sure that we have trusted organizations across our government that allows for the free sharing of information and collaboration. I mean, in terms of national security, what is critical is that you can assemble the experts you need. You want a bigger group, right, for any of these complex problems because you need their expertise. You need the tools that they bring to bear from different agencies and departments. And so what we really have to do is make sure we have a very high degree of confidence in all of our organizations and all of our systems and processes so we can do what we need to do for the president, which is give him our best advice and give him options to deal with these very complex problems.
Clearly, you can't have that confidence by virtue of what happened yesterday. So do you have an idea of how this got out, and how can you tighten up the ship, as it were, right, to ensure, from your perspective at least, that this stuff doesn't get out?
Well, I think it's incumbent on all of us to bring in the people with the right authorities and the right mandate to take a look at how this leak occurred and how other breaches may have occurred as well.
General McMaster.
Thank you. General McMaster, to put a finer point on it, is there now an active investigation into how this information was leaked? And can you tell us about who's running that investigation? And I also would like to ask you, given that President Trump is now going to be meeting face-to-face with literally dozens of foreign leaders, if there are sensitivities to his discretion in what sort of information to decide to declassify, how is that something that you are advising him ahead of this foreign trip?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are no sensitivities in terms of me or anybody who's been with the president in many of these engagements. He shares information in a way that is wholly appropriate. And I should just make maybe the statement here that the president wasn't even aware, of where this information came from. He wasn't briefed on the source and method of the information either. So I'm sorry, this is going to have to be the last question because we do have the president of Turkey coming, I think, momentarily. Thank you very much.
Well, there you go. There was a leak. And the Washington Post could not resist to run a story, and the liberal media has gone wild, has gone crazy. Case in point, USA Today. I don't read USA Today very often. Years ago, it was actually a pretty decent paper. It was one of those papers that you could get at, say, any hotel. And it would summarize the nation's news, and that's what it was. It didn't have a spin on it. Unlike so many TV stations putting their spin on it. Well, here it is. Trump meets with Turkey's urgent following bombshell report. The bombshell. And what is the bombshell? Is a day after it was reported that revealed highly classified information to Russian foreign minister and its ambassador to the U.S. at the White House last week, citing current and former U.S. officials. And the Washington Post reported that Trump provided Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Ambassador Sergei Kislov classified information that was so sensitive had been withheld from allies, resulting in lawmakers slamming Trump's alleged actions. Folks, this is more of the garbage. But there is something very serious going on, and it's been a problem in the White House with General Flynn, of course, not being upfront and should have been truthful to the vice president and to the president, but there is clearly moles, there's a leak, leftovers from the Obama administration, recording devices, something is going on. Something's going on. There's definitely disloyalty going on clearly there at the White House, and this is not a good thing. But heads need to start rolling, is all I got to say. I mean, after this is just rather embarrassing. But I'll tell you what, you go ahead and you report this stuff, and what it does is not only does it create so much more distrust with the mainstream media, with those folks that have common sense like you, to never trust any of the fledgling news networks vying for an audience, to really trust people with the news when they get their news. It's just that, and when other people see this from all over the globe, they really make America look stupid. And it's the media that's painting this wonderful portrait of the United States of America. Thank you very much. It's just, it's terrible. It's like, I'm sure what's going on here in America with the mainstream media, this is kind of like watching, what were the telebebes, for the Spanish folks, Telemundo, these soap operas. That's exactly what it is. What's going to happen next? Here's a good question to pose to Mike Huckabee, which I like very, very much, the former Arkansas governor. How do we stop the leaks? Here's a guy who knows a lot about politics in Washington. And, of course, he ran the last election around, and, of course, Trump beat him. But nice, likable guy. And I actually missed his show on Fox with Huckabee. Hopefully he goes back on, but he's still a contributor. But this is what he had to say today about this.
He's got to stop him. Somebody in the administration, and I don't know if it's somebody he appointed. Most likely it's holdovers, it's career bureaucrats who hate Donald Trump almost as much as the news media, but that would be impossible. But somebody is doing everything they can to undermine the presidency. Forget that it's Donald Trump. This is an undermining of the office of the president, and therefore, really it's an undermining of the integrity of our government. Everyone in that room said that this did not happen. Every single person goes on camera, whether it's Dina Powell, Rex Tillerson, General McMaster. They all said it's a lie. Donald Trump comes out and says, I didn't give out anything that wasn't in public. And you know what the media is reporting? That Trump confirmed that he gave out classified information, and he most certainly has not confirmed that. It's the most stunning thing I've ever seen when it comes to the media. They take what is on its face untrue, they report it as something that it isn't, and they pretend that they can celebrate journalism. It's frightening to our country and to the Republic when you have this much disinformation and misinformation being shared by people who pretend they're journalists.
Does that not say everything right there? Pretend to be journalist. Pretend. But whatever audience it is that they have, they buy into it. They believe this. Oh, my God, did you hear what Donald Trump today? Our allies right now are not going to trust us ever with any information that we give them anymore. This is what USA Today is spouting. It's what the Post is spouting. And that's what all the liberal media TV stations are saying as well. I mean, I can't understand where it is that you get H.R. McMaster. He stepped up in the room, okay? National Security Advisor of the White House, there in the White House. Rex Tillerson, all his senior advisors, right there in the room, knowing that the guy didn't. Don't you think that they would not be a little bit furious if they believe that Donald Trump, just because of losing his mind or judgment call, decided he wanted to spew off classified information that would be damning to the United States of America? Of course, Donald Trump, he tweeted today, and he says, as president, I wanted to share with Russia at an openly scheduled White House meeting, which I have the absolute right to do, facts pertaining to terrorism and airline flight safety, humanitarian reasons. Plus, I want Russia to greatly step up their fight against ISIS and terrorism. And, of course, Russia knows about terrorism. Jeez, they've had their own plane shot down. Remember? National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster, you just heard from him. Deputy National Security Advisor Diane Powell and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson all strongly said and pushed back the evening news report from the Washington Post report that Trump disclosed to Russia officials the foreign city where an ISIS plot was hatched, a development that could potentially lead the Russians to discover U.S. intelligence sources and methods. But Tuesday morning today, Trump tweeted in his first response to the firestorm as president, I want to share with Russia an openly scheduled White House meeting, which I have the absolute right to do. And as president, he does. There was nothing shared with the Russians that compromised national security or our efforts that's not in the public domain. I mean, this is going to be an ongoing thing, folks. You're going to sadly have to get used to it because you're not going to be able to have an honest mainstream media that's going to be able to tell the truth. They're just waiting for some angle to be able to make Trump look like he and his cabinet, everybody there, including Trump, all his advisors, and it's like a lot of the Dems are saying, oh, what a great cabinet that he has, well, but then they discredit all the senior advisors who were actually in the room when this was going on. I mean, does this not make your blood pressure go up or not? I mean, it's just, again, it's idiotic, it's ridiculous, and if anything, I think it's so damning and damaging to the psyche of America in so many different respects. So many different respects for the work that really, honest to goodness, needs to be done. And if all that energy, all that effort that the mainstream media puts into that, think about the good things that they can report on, the good things that they could do. Because they don't want to report on the real story. And today I went on to Facebook. We don't do Twitter here at For the People. We just don't. Maybe we should, but we don't. We go to Facebook, and basically what I said, what the real story is. The real story with all these meetings going on and investigations going on trying to show collusion with the Trump administration. The real story is Barack Obama and his administration for 8 years that actually gave Russians more intel information, including Hillary Clinton's servers, that compromised for real the security of our country and did nothing to help the poor Syrian folks that now we learned today about the mass